Randasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Tasmai Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, kindly opened my eyes with torchlight of knowledge. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Srila Prabhupada was very fond of explaining what is Ram. And it has to be seen through the eyes of Achintya Vedaveda Tattva. Every philosopher, starting from Advaita Siddhanta of Adi Shankara, uses the same philosophy of Achintya Vedaveda Tattva to prove their point. So Ramanujacharya. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Ramanujacharya's explanation of Achintya Vedaveda Tattva to incorporate in our Krishna conscious philosophy. People are fighting, differentiating between Rama and Krishna. But Tattva is the same. They never describe, because they are religious, they are not spiritualist. It is not necessary that every religious person is a spiritual person. Now, you must have heard about Ram Mandir is going to be opened up on 22nd January. And there are fights, verbal fights. They are claiming Congress has their own Ram. BJP has their own Ram. And those who are others, they say we have our own Ram. So we don't have to go to the or respond to the invitation that has come from BJP. Now they are making a kind of different Ram. Yeah. They are making kind of, this is like when the string of bow is released, it's sounds like that. So everybody has their own differences on some basis, and that are not unifying. Only the spiritual solution is there, and through Achintya Vedaveda Tattva. What is Rama Tattva? Prabhupada very, very lucidly explains that Ramanti Yoginaha Satyanande Chidatmani iti Rama Padinasho Parabrahma Avidiyate. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Parabrahma, and because he is a reservoir of pleasure, his name is Ram. And those who are meditating within their own heart on that beautiful form of the Lord, Paramatma, who is the reservoir of pleasure, is Ram. And they want to say within their own hearts in place of Paramatma. So, what is Paramatma? What is Ram? Paramatma is the farthest expansion of Lord Sri Krishna. But according to your affinity in spiritual life, means relationship, in a particular mood of devotion, the Supreme Lord will appear in that particular form. So Lord Ramchandra is also Ram, but then Nityananda Prabhu is also Ram, and Balaram is also Ram. Krishna is Ram, but Ram cannot be Krishna otherwise.
Ram is not the source of Krishna. Krishna is all attractive, Supreme Personality of Godhead. But within our limitation and capacity, a devotee develop even certain restrictions that may be aiding to diversification of that particular relationship. It may become not pure. So the devotees of Lord Ramachandra, they concentrate on him, maybe expansion, Lakshman, maybe the internal potency, Srimati Radha, Sita Devi. And Hanuman is the servant. But when they become so much attracted by the activities of Ramchandra, they are beneficial to the human society. He came to and ruled for 13,000 years. 13,000 years of ruling means 13 years of Kali Yuga. So, because of they do not know the proper understanding, there cannot be two different gods. But yet, religious favor may make them different. So, how to reconcile between the religiosity? There is no middle ground for the spiritual explanation to come to adjust the material conceptions. There is no room. So when we try to understand that how can we tolerate, how can we adjust, the Supreme Personality of Godhead who has come to exhibit even a limited potency, not unlimited potency, but limited potency, then he becomes the Lord and Master. Jiva is very limited. For him, limits of unlimited cannot be estimated. But if they limit certain features that are more attractive, for example, just like Krishna Leela is being continuous, because the sun is continuous. Similarly, Ramchandra Leela is also continuous. All the avatars, they remain in continuity. And they exhibit their different Leelas in different situations in different places. So, Prabhupada would explain this, that is the pleasure-giving potency is Lord Ramchandra. Is the reservoir of pleasure. But in his avatar as Ramchandra, he never gave pleasure to anybody. Everybody was completely in morose situation. Here you see in the diorama, they learned the discipline because right at the age of learning, Vishwamitra Muni took both Ram and Lakshman to train them, right? Moreover, he knew the absoluteness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he wanted his help to eradicate the influence of the Rakshasas. Because Tretayam Yajato Mukhe, in the Treta Yuga, one has to worship through fire sacrifices. And Rakshasas like Taraka and Marish, they would defile the process. So rishis were completely perturbed. They cannot concentrate on the holy name of the Lord because they become ritualistic in performance of the yajna. But ultimately, Lord Ram is coming to rescue them, who is the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he was bound by the command and order, and that was the basis of following the path of truth. Right? So Chandra easily took the order of his father, even though it was somehow or another in intrigue, but they saw lamentation instead of joy. The position of Ramchandra, who is the reservoir of pleasure, is always in the joyful mood, but he may not express. And the internal potency, Sita Devi knew. Lord Ramchandra wants to take advantage of so-called unhappiness to execute certain functions of like killing Ravana and eradicating all of the Rakshasas that were troubling. It's like Paritranaya Sadhuna to protect the devotees who are aspiring to come back to Godhead through their yajna process. So, even though Lord Ramchandra is the reservoir of pleasure, but this pleasure is spiritual pleasure. Happiness doesn't dictate spiritual pleasure. Therefore it is called Anand. Ahalad is the main word, which pure devotees, like even Prahalad, who has been already established in that spiritual bliss, that is the literary translation of Aladini Shakti. So, Sita was Aladini Shakti. But the activities of between Lord Ramchandra and Sita was also limiting when Ravan abducted her. How come Vladini Shakti can be stolen away by a Rakshasa? When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to South India, he received a manuscript that was explaining, because they were discussing, when he heard in the assembly of some devotees, that actually Ravan did not take Sita. Because Sita, the pleasure potency is so much transcendentally, powerful, that if she would have raised her eyebrow in a little anger, Ravan could have been burnt to ashes. Because any little change in Ladini Shakti can create a big havoc. So Ravan did not had a chance. But Ramchandra, put her in such a position. But she was very adept to the desire of the Lord to help him in executing this particular function, that let her false image or Maya Sita be stolen away by Ravan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu liked this explanation very much. And he brought that manuscript along with him when he returned to Jagannath Puri after the South India Rath Yatra. At the same time, he also got from Adikeshav temple the 5th chapter of Brahma Sutta. So these two manuscripts are very important for us to understand the Rama Tattva. If you read in Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, about the activities of Lord Ramchandra, Sukadeva Goswami is not depending upon these different narrations. He said to Parikshit, Parikshit, you have heard so many times this Ramayana stories in the assembly of devotees. There is a fancy of creating or conducting just like Saptas. Nauhan means for 9 days Ramayana is conducted. But what is the result? Katha suni suni phutya kan toye nayo brahmagyan. Even your eardrums would have ruptured by hearing multiple times. I am not interested to tell you all this. I want to tell you the real truth. How this inconceivable potency of Lord Shri Krishna, Ramchandra, along with the Ladini potency, act in a conformity rather than opposing. Conformity. What is the desire of the Lord and how He wants to re-establish the kingdom of Ramarajya, where the governance of Lord Ramchandra will be implemented. If Ramchandra hears anything ill about him or anything explanation that are written, there is always a counteracting spiritual explanation. And that is the real nature. That is the real nature. To counteract the activities, the explanation, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Jiva Swami, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur wrote on these commentaries, and they are being explained that as the potency, spiritual potency is working, they are the enactment of Ladini Shakti. It is to increase the love and pleasure potency. It cannot create an absence of pleasure potency, which is moroseness of pain. And Lord Ramchandra is so much in tune with his internal potency, Sita, that only through the agency of potency we can understand the potent. So, there it is explained, Vishwanath Chakravarti says, when Sita was abducted by Ravana, he was running very madly, looking for her everywhere, as if a henpecked husband lost his wife. A henpecked husband. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a little commentary. No, these are the enactment of the Ladini potency called Prema Vasyatsya Swabhava, whose Swabhava means the activities according to his desire is manifested in Swabhava. And if you connect with the philosophy of Svetasatara Upanishad, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known by the manifestation of his different potencies, according to his Swabhava. What is that definition? Na chatasya karanam karanam cha vidyate, na chatasya samasam adhikaccha drishyate, parasya shaktir vividhiya sruyate, swabhavikim jnana balakriyacha. Krishna doesn't have to instruct his potencies how to act and what not. No, the potencies know the nature of the desire of the Lord, so they automatically swabhaviki jnanavala kriyacha. That is the intimacy of Ladini Shakti. Ladini Shakti is so much intimately connected with the Supreme Lord that she knows the desire. So, external situations are described in flowery language, and yet when Sita has to be abducted, they put Lakshman into a kind of conversation with her in a something by religious methodology. And Lakshman says, "Oh, I am supposed to guard you, and why are you telling me to go and see him? He told me, this is the last instruction." Then how come these kind of words will appear in Sita's mouth? "Oh, I know why have you followed us, so you can take disadvantage of me when large." Fool. This is not a spiritual explanation, but as if, it is happening, and people who have no insights of the principles of this, that is called Achintya Vedavyasapriya Tattva, they will never try to reconciliate with this absolute truth. Rather, they make it as a relative truth. It is very, very, beneficial for human society. But spirituality is the main source. And how come a flowery language that describes what is Rajya, and people are still desiring? That is a religious fervor. It's a sentimental fervor that you think everything will be happy ever after, they will live. That's a Cinderella story. No, this is showing the absolute truth. That Lakshmana was not taught anything. He came out of, his desire to serve his brother. Sita's attitude was there only Lakshmana. But as an obedience, it was there. Sita was also very obedient to Ramchandra. Faithful. So, everybody has to be faithful, but everybody has to be also having a kind of what we call conveniency to understand what is the desire of the Lord. What is the desire of the Lord? Prabhupada says, do something. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj said, don't try to see Krishna through your eyes, but always see Krishna through ears. How would you see? By understanding our predecessor Acharya's explanations. Through that we will be able to understand. So, Ramachandra is supposed to exhibit pleasure potency. But in 14 years of, exile, we don't see any pleasure potency existing. Even meeting with Sita, the pleasure was never described much. That satisfaction and normalcy was established. But still, the doubts were hanging around. If Sita has gone to Ravana's palace, she must be defiled. So she has to go under the fire test. She has to pass through fire to prove her purity. And there we get an explanation. Maya Sita got burned, but transcendental Sita came out from the fire. So we have to, put everything in proper perspective to understand
this Ram avatar.
and therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Murari Gupta's worship of Ramchandra. He approved. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not say that this is secondary. No. The rasas are there, but there are limitations of rasas that Ramchandra would reciprocate. So therefore he is called Maryada Purushottam. It's not that Purushottam who became Maryada, limited. No, Purushottam cannot become limited. But he exhibited very limited essentialities of the Absolute Truth, which is majesty. And therefore, the pure devotees were hankering for the most intimate pastimes when the Lord promised that, yes, I will have to come. And that is Lord Krishna's pastime. Right? So, the Lord does not get limited by exhibiting limited potencies. So this is how reconciliation is there. But spiritually, those who are in that particular discipline can understand, and they have to understand this. All right? So thank you very much. Murari Gupta ki jai.
Who's here from Fiji?
Fiji.
Fiji devotees, Sualambasa.
There are dozen.
Do they still have Ramkatha in the villages? We used to hear it all the time. The devotees, when I was there, they said it used to be every day, but then it became only Saturday or so.
Yeah.
But we'd always hear this, Sri Ramachandra ki jai, Sri Hanumana ki jai. And they said, what did they call it? Siya Ram or something.
No, Siya Ram ki jai.
Siya Ramachandra ki jai. Pavan Sat Hanuman ki jai.
When television came, then Ramkatha went down.
Maharaj should
Otherwise, it's
visit
every day.
Fiji now. Good.
I was there 1 year.
1978.
In the 78.
Nice prasadam.
Fiji.
Fiji, nice.
Prabhupada especially liked Nandarani.
Gulgula. Kasera.
When Prabhupada was there, he was at Vasudev's house. And he was eating and eating and eating. And his servant was really worried because he was sick and he wasn't supposed to eat very much. He said, Prabhupada, these women are good cooks. He said, give me more.
And they are Gujaratis.
Yeah. Nandarani and Bhagavati.
Right. Bhagavati Mata is still cooking.
Yeah.
She always gives me something called kachori.
And if you said you were sick, what's wrong? I have a headache. Okay, and eat this. Anyway, Murari Gupta, when the bore, he said, who can glorify you? Only you can glorify yourself. It's impossible. He went on like that. But Chaitanya, he treated Murari Gupta the same way that Ramachandra cheated Hanuman.
महाप्रभु ने मुरारी गुप्त के साथ ऐसे व्यवहार किया जैसे रामचंद्र जी ने हनुमान जी के साथ व्यवहार किया.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Ramachandra ki jai. Shri Hanuman ki jai. Murari Gupta ki jai.